Hello there. Chernobyl, a word that you probably have heard of before. You probably haven't given it much thought though. If you haven't, here is a brief explanation on the Chernobyl accident. Let's go. The Chernobyl accident happened on April 26, 1986, in the small town of Chernobyl, located in northern Ukraine that housed the Chernobyl Atomic Electrical Station. This place consisted of 4 RBMK-1000 nuclear reactors that had flawed reactor designs and incompetent trained personnel. This was just begging for a disaster to happen. According to sources, the RBMK-1000 is a Soviet-designed and built graphite moderated pressure tube type reactor using slightly enriched 2% uranium dioxide fuel. It boils water and feeds steam directly to the turbines. Water pumped to the bottom of the fuel channels boils as it progresses up the pressure tubes, producing steam which also feeds two 500 megawatt turbines. The steam runs the turbine, while the water also acts like a coolant. On April 25th, the reactor crew at the fourth reactor began preparing for a test to determine how long the turbines would spin and supply power to the main circulating pumps. Then a loss of main electrical power supply that caused a series of operator actions, including the disabling of automatic shutdown mechanisms, happened early on the 26th of April. By that time, the operator moved to shut down the reactor. The reactor is in completely unstable condition, and an unusual part of the control rod design caused a dramatic power surge as they were inserted into the reactor. After this happened, radiation changes were detected in the third and fourth energy blocks. Gamma radiation particles up to 1,000 microrotgens per second, while the rest of the station was up to 15 to 200 microrotgens per second. The city limit was actually 6 to 18 microrotgens per second, which shows the particle level being way too high. The microrotgen is a unit of measurement for the exposure of X-rays and gamma rays. Many safety measures were ignored while the fuel overheated and burned through the protective barriers. And then, boom! The reactor exploded. Let's go through with detail on exactly what happened. So the interaction of very hot fuel with the cooling water led to the fuel fragmentation along with rapid steam production and increase in pressure. The overpressure caused the cover plate of the reactor to become partially detached, rupturing the fuel channels and jamming all of the control rods. Intense steam generation that spread throughout the whole core, causing a steam explosion and releasing fission products into the atmosphere. Around 2 to 3 seconds later, a second explosion threw out fragments from the fuel channels and hot graphite. There is some debate among experts about the cause of the second explosion, but it is likely to have been caused by the production of hydrogen from zirconium steam reactions. Immediately after the explosion, it caused the death of 2 workers. 28 workers died from acute radiation syndrome within a few weeks. If you might think, well, this could have been a sabotage, well, no evidence of a sabotage was ever found. Rather unlikely, but this could still be a possibility. The explosion caused an estimated release of 300 tons of ejected graphite and fuel, which started spreading and causing a number of fires. A total of around 14 exabecquerel, which is the activity of radioactive material with 1 nucleus decaying per second, of radioactivity was released, with over half of it being from biologically inert noble gases. There were over 100 radioactive elements that were released into the Earth's atmosphere, a lot of them that decayed quickly. The dangerous isotopes of strontium-90 and cesium-137 are still around today, and they can still cause many diseases in the body. This caused long-term health effects such as cancers and illnesses and possibility of death. Around 1,800 cases of thyroid cancer were found in children shortly after the incident occurred. Necessary evacuation measures were taken, with around 1,100 buses and 2 diesel trains, and an escort of 1,500 police officers were there to ensure people's safety. Around 350,000 people were evacuated as a result of this accident, but the relocation of people is still happening today. Covert teams from the KGB administration, a foreign intelligence and domestic security agency of the Soviet Union, and UVD, Administration of Internal Affairs, are sent into Polotsk and Chernobyl districts and outlying areas of evacuation. Around 150,000 square kilometers in Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine are contaminated. They stretch northward of the plant site as far as 500 kilometers. An area spanning 30 kilometers around the plant is called the exclusion zone, and this is in an uninhabited ghost town. In the early 1990s, around $400 million was spent on enhancing the safety of the rest of the reactors. Liquidators or emergency workers worked on decontamination and major construction projects. They also built waste repositories, dams, water filtration system, and the sarcophagus, which entombs the entire fourth reactor to contain the remaining radioactive material. After Chernobyl, Ukraine had an even harder time giving Russia the nuclear fuel that it needed, making Ukraine an even more debt to Russia. Chernobyl today is a crazy fate. The crazy amount of radioactive waste affected a lot of species there. Plant changed shapes, a lot of animals mutated to have birth defects. A lot of animals, though, traveled to an area and still live there today. You can actually still go there, but don't stay for too long. Some parts of Chernobyl have high radioactive levels, but are not 100% fatal for short periods of time. In fact, people still live there today. No children live there. The average life expectancy is around 45 to 50 years. In comparison, the average Ukraine life expectancy is around 72 years as of 2023. The Chernobyl exclusion zone is so radioactive that it will not be fully habitable without any toxic radiation in over 20,000 years. So yeah, we're not going to enjoy Chernobyl anytime soon. Thank you for listening to this brief explanation of Chernobyl, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.